Good evening and welcome to Thorold City Council. First on our agenda, councilors, are there any conflicts of interest? Seeing none, I'll proceed to our minutes. Minutes of the regular council meeting held on November 7, 2017. Councilor Ugolini.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Paoni, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on November 7th, 2017 be received and adopted.
Thank you, Councilor. Are there any items for discussion in these minutes? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Minutes of the special council meeting held on November 7, 2017. Councilor Paone.
Thank you, Mr. Myself, seconded by Councilor Ugolini, that the minutes of the special council meeting held on November 7th, 2017 be received and adopted.
Thank you, Councilor. Are there any items for discussion? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Minutes of the special council meeting held on November 9th, 2017. Councilor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Ugolini, that the minutes of the special council meeting held on November 9th, 2017 be received and adopted.
And again, are there any items for discussion? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And I'll move on to my mayor's report. It's brief tonight. On Wednesday, November 15th, I was pleased to participate in a special celebration in honor of Louis Riel Day. At the ceremony, each municipality in Niagara was presented with a Métis flag to fly at City Hall. Ours has been proudly flying since last week to acknowledge the Métis Nation. On Saturday, November 18th, Front Street welcomed another new business to the BIA. Chapel Street Designs Artisan Boutique has opened its doors and welcomes everyone to have a look at their new space and enjoy the work of many Niagara artists. This weekend will be your last chance to see Thorold Community Theater's fall production, Fantasy by Appointment. Shows have been selling out, so don't delay. Get your tickets before they are gone. Tickets are $15 per person and are available online at thoroldtheater.ca or by calling 905-682-8779. On behalf of Thorold City Council and our entire community, I would like to extend my thanks to everyone who helped organize and participate in this year's Remembrance Day ceremonies. We're fortunate to have two beautiful services in Thorold that were very, very well attended. These Remembrance Day ceremonies allow us to show our respect and gratitude for the men and women who bravely defended our rights and freedoms and those who continue to serve. This Saturday, beginning at 4 p.m., the jolliest elf of all, Santa Claus, will make an appearance in the 27th Annual Thorold Santa Claus Parade. Find a spot along the parade route and get ready to enjoy the music and the floats. This is sure to be the best parade in the region, so don't miss it. And that concludes my report. And we do not have any presentations tonight, but we have two delegates. The first delegation is Roger Ali, President and Chief Executive Officer, One Foundation for Niagara Health Systems. Welcome, Mr. Ali.
Thank you, Mayor.
Nice to see you again.
Likewise. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to give a presentation, a short presentation. I'm joined by my board chair, Gord Statham. And the purpose of the presentation is to give you an update and overview of the One Foundation. I'd like to start with the mission of the foundation. And the One Foundation raises funds to support Niagara Health for the advancement of healthcare in the region. So we are the sole foundation raising funds to support the priorities of Niagara Health. Our mission is certainly the underpinnings of our existence, and we aspire to be the charity of choice to support world-class healthcare in the region here in Niagara. So I just want to give you context to what we do and our relationship with Niagara Health. Niagara Health's purpose is threefold: extraordinary caring to every person, every time, And their vision is a shared vision with the foundation, and that is to create a healthier Niagara. So our purpose overall is to support the priorities of Niagara Health, and we support all of the sites across Niagara, which includes the Douglas Memorial Site, the Greater Niagara General Site, Niagara-on-the-Lake Site, Port Colborne, St. Catharines, and lastly, the Welland Hospital Site. So a bit of an update that you may already know. Recently, Minister Hoskins came to the region, and we were quite excited with the news that was shared that construction is moving ahead with the Niagara Falls Hospital, but also that Welland will continue to offer 24-hour emergency services and also full diagnostics. So that includes CT scans, ultrasounds, and X-rays. So the foundation plays a critical role in the building of the new hospital, in particular around getting ready for another major campaign in which there will be a community share to support that initiative. And the time frame for that, in terms of the foundation plans, we have already started doing the campaign framework and anticipate that our planning will continue into 2018 and at some point thereafter to begin executing the campaign plan. So Niagara Health at a glance, in particular, is a very busy healthcare system. But what I want to share with you is the statistics related to Thorold. So in particular, there were just over 28,000 visits from the residents of Thorold that were served at a Niagara Health Hospital site. And in particular, in terms of our emergency and urgent care visits, we've had over 200,000, and of that, over 7,300 were visits from residents in the Thorold community. In the larger context, medical imaging is an important component of the patient care experience, and Niagara Health certainly does, by volume, a significant portion, and that relevant statistic is just over 367,000. Over 40,000 surgeries are done, and in particular, 5,600 are eye surgeries, and also with our Women's and Babies and Children's program, over 3,000 births. So certainly by volume, a very busy healthcare system, and in particular in relation to Thorold and the residents who use those services and programs are available. So the One Foundation's focus in particular is around raising funds for the equipment needs, as those things are not covered through the funding from the Ministry of Health. Specifically, the work that we've done in funding the equipment needs and other patient priorities since 2014, over $9.5 million was transferred to Niagara Health to support things like enhancing cancer care for the Walker Cancer Center, replacing equipment across the sites of the hospitals, supporting the ambulatory program, ophthalmology with a new microscope, several patient beds across many units, and also providing scholarships and bursaries for students who are studying medical sciences. In terms of the impact, this is just an array of things: specialty hospital beds, in particular, birthing beds, averaging about $25,000 for one of those beds, hemodialysis machine for our kidney care program, the microscope, one of those initiatives we undertook a couple of years ago with a $200,000 commitment, and also a central monitoring system to help the intensive care unit, both at the Welland site and the Greater Niagara General site. So that's just some examples of the impact of philanthropies making in the community. You certainly have been a great supporter of ours in the past. When we were building the new St. Catharines Hospital site, over $4.3 million was put towards that. And when we did our background research, even in the early 2000s, the city of Thorold supported the Gamma camera acquisition with donation of $5,800. So we certainly want to thank you for that. We currently have a campaign underway for medical imaging. We're replacing many of the aging pieces of equipment in that particular program. That includes X-ray machines, CT scans. We're at the point where we're looking to bring a third MRI into the community. So this $2.2 million campaign is something that is needed in terms of the priority equipment for this particular program. So my request is that I ask for your consideration. I've provided a proposal for council to review, and I want to thank you for that. And before I close, I just want to invite my board chair to just say a few words.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to present for you tonight. Without your support, Niagara Health can't get this needed equipment to be that world-class health institution that we really want it to be, and for us, Thorold, and the rest of the Niagara region. So thank you very much on behalf of the board and for One Foundation.
And lastly, just some key events coming up. I know you've been very supportive and present at our events, and we have, there are 4 signature events that we undertake in the year. One is our elimination draw, the second is our annual gala, the third is our Kids Ultimate Challenge, and lastly, the Big Move Cancer Ride. Thank you for the opportunity, and I'm just going to pause and see if there are any questions for us.
Thank you, Mr. Ali, for your presentation. It was very informative. Are there any questions for our presenter? I have just a quick one. How much would a MRI machine cost?
So that's a great question. So an MRI, a basic MRI, is just over $3 million. And in terms of the acquisition and the software and getting the outfitting of the room is approximately $4.4 million.
Wow. We need more than the 2 we have right now.
Certainly, and that is such a big priority for us, which actually is in addition to the $2.2 million that I just shared with you.
Yeah.
But to your point, it is absolutely critical that we bring that third MRI into our community.
Yeah, I know what the waiting. I know what the waiting time is to get an MRI. It's not tomorrow. It's weeks and weeks. Again, thank you very much for your presentation. I greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Our next delegate is Susan Beamer, President of Thorold Lions Club. And she's going to give us an update of current activities and future initiatives. Welcome, Ms. Beamer.
Good evening,
Liz
Mr.
Beamer.
Mayor and Council of Thorold. Beside me here is my immediate past president, Lion John Wilson, and I am Lion Sue Beamer. Thorold Lions were chartered in June of 2010 with 23 members. Today, we have 14. We are small, but we're mighty. We're members of the parent organization of Lions Clubs International, which is 1.4 million members worldwide. Lions International is the largest and youngest service organization in the world. And this year, they're celebrating 100 years of service. Our motto is "We Serve," and this is evident in our mission statement. Lion John?
Lions Club International mission statement: to create and foster a spirit of understanding among all people for humanitarian needs by providing voluntary services through community involvement and international cooperation.
This mission statement we read at the beginning of every meeting, and it reminds us why we're Lions, what we're to do. When we chartered, we decided that our goal would be youth-oriented. To that end, we give Thorold Secondary School a bursary every year for a student who contributes freely to their community, over and above the 40 obligatory hours. We've given each elementary school benevolent funds. We've done Project Pride for 3 years. This is a program that we go into the schools, the elementary schools, to the grade 1 program. And at the end of talking about Thorold, and that we're unique because we have the twin locks, and talking about what lions do and are, not the animal, us, and we talk about the symbols of Canada, the maple leaf and our flag. We show them the colors and the symbols. We then give them a little certificate, and we give them a Canadian flag. And we talk about Canada's birthday. And we ask them to make sure that they take their flag and put it out, because Thorold is the most patriotic city. And we want to make sure that they know that. We cooked hot dogs for your outdoor movie night. We had a lot of fun. We ask the children to come to the Mayor's Picnic every year on Canada's Day, and we ask them to paint rocks. And what do they paint? The Canadian flag. A lot of them are pink, I might tell you. Our next big event is our Breakfast with Santa. It's free for everybody. Everybody comes. We have pancakes and sausage, drinks, and of course a chance to talk to the big guy and get a gift. And we invite everybody to come. Just remember, he's watching. It's Saturday, December the 9th, from 9 to 11 in the morning at St. Andrew's Church Hall. And remember, it is free. Fundraising. We've just finished doing our every Saturday in October pumpkin sales. 100% of the funds we raise from the community go back to the community. Our funds from our pumpkin sales go to buy Foodland gift certificates that are given to community care to give out again. We're currently taking orders for poinsettias. That's our next fundraiser. We'll do chocolate Easter bunnies and possibly Easter flowers. To help raise funds, we've done half and half raffles, a $1,000 grocery raffle, a TV raffle, and a car wash. Our biggest event is our spring sociable, held at Club Capri on Saturday, May 5, 2018. Mark that date down, but you'll get more information about that as it comes out. Donations. We have supported Thorold Library with funding for their materials and their summer reading program. We have a donation basket that we use at each meeting for community care items, food mostly, that they need, and we're currently participating in a sock drive. Activities. We collected used eyeglasses and hearing aids from eye professionals and folks just like you. Last year alone, we packed over 30,000 pair that were shipped to third world countries for reuse. We've done half and half raffles, Mother's Day, and Christmas dinners for Youth Unlimited. Participated in the Thorold Car Show. Prepared a dinner for the Salvation Army mobile unit. Thorold Lions proudly adopted Collier Road from Beaver Dams to Sullivan, so twice a year we do a cleanup, as well as the Heritage Trail from Lock 7 to the bridge. Litter doesn't get past us. We've entered floats in the Thorold Santa Parades, but now provide manpower to marshal it. Every Wednesday evening, from the end of June until mid-August, you'll find us at Beaver Dams Park, handing out free cold water for the Thorold Reed Band concerts. As I previously mentioned, Lions International is 100 years young this year, so all clubs have been asked to do a legacy project in our community. What could we do for Thorold that would last, be helpful, and fit Thorold's profile? The need for cycling fix-it stations from the increase in cycling in Thorold for the Niagara region. 3 locations are considered: Lock 7 Information Center, Ellenberg Bridge, and Port Robinson Ferry. These locations, being on the Greater Niagara Circle route, see a lot of cycling traffic. There were 6,941 people who visited the Information Centre in 2017, and out of that, 829 of those were cyclists. Cyclists do come looking for tools and air for their bicycles at the centre. Port Robinson Ferry saw just over 9,200 cyclists in the last 3 years. On average, 70% of those cyclists are Niagara residents. 30% are tourists. Adding to these numbers is the direction that the City of Thorold has taken to promote cycling through active transportation and cycling tourism from the Greater Niagara Circle route. And these new assets will complement the bronze designation bestowed upon the city by Share the Road. So what we're looking at, and I have some pictures here, are bike repair stations. We'll pass these around. We have 3 in mind, as I said. We have also approached Thorold High to see if they can build these, because it would be a great partnership for us. So depending on the funding that we can come up with, we will either do 1, 2, or all 3. We have applied for a Thorold recreational grant to have these stations installed. And we're currently looking for partnerships for funding, supplies, or even just promotion to help us with this. Our Lions membership is by invitation, and we pay yearly dues. Our Lions year runs from July 1st to June 30th. We are all ages, male and female. We are a service club where friendship, fellowship, and support happen easily. We meet the 2nd and 4th Monday of each month at 7 p.m. at St. Andrew's Church Hall. We are all volunteers, giving freely of our time, our talent, and of course, some finances. We will take whatever time you can give, and the order we follow is family first, work second, and then Lions. We feel Lions are payback. Make someone else's life better. Going forward for us, we will complete all 3 bike repair stations. We will grow our membership. We will become a recognized service group in Thorold. And we will continue our service to others. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It was very good. Are there any questions for our presenters? Councillor Ugolini.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. To Susan, thank you for the presentation, and to all the Lions for the great work you do in the community. Regarding the bike stations, I think that's a great initiative. And my question is, we got to find a way to get all 3 done this year. So keep us informed of where you're at, and then when we consider community grants at budget, we can look at what we can do to help you out. But my question is, can you keep us informed on where you are in your, as far as dollars?
Okay. We are in the process of looking at the costs right now. We've got several quotes, and we're still looking at that. We would really like to find some place local that can make them, because most of the quotes we've got are from far away. But we are looking, and we will keep you informed, definitely. Thank you so much.
Councillor Longo.
Yes, thank you for the presentations. Thanks, Susan. Thanks very much. I sit on the Active Transportation Advisory Committee. Have you spoken to anybody on that committee regarding these?
I have talked to Sue Moran,
Okay.
and we had quite a conversation. I haven't talked to anybody else, but I have had an email from a lady that sits on the committee. I'm not sure exactly who now. I can't remember her
Okay.
name.
If you could possibly leave your contact information with our city clerk, I'd like to have the chair of the Active Transportation Committee get in touch with you.
That'd be great.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
Are there any other questions? Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to move into communications and resolutions. Items referred to council. Councillor Whalen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Payon, that the correspondence received from the City of St. Catharines requesting the province terminate the current RFPQ and the RFP process and reissue the RFPQ process developed with local stakeholder input, with inclusion of all four original core objectives: job creation, economic development for the region of Niagara, and significant and lasting contribution to the economic development for the Niagara region, and significant and lasting contribution to the economic benefits for tourism be received and supported.
Thank you, Councillor Whalen. Is there any discussion to the resolution? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. List of committee minutes, correspondence from volunteer committees. Councillor Payon.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ugolini, that the communications on the list of correspondence 5D, minutes correspondence from volunteer committees, be received for information purposes and filed.
Are there any items here for discussion? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Reports, correspondence from the region of Niagara. Councillor Ugolini.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Paoni, that the communications on the list of correspondence 5E, reports correspondence from the region of Niagara, be received for information purposes and filed.
Again, any items for discussion? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Items for information purposes. Councillor Longo.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ugolini, that the communications on the list of correspondence 5F be received for information purposes and filed.
Thank you, Councillor. Again, are there any items for discussion? I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We'll move into reports. Minutes of the General Committee meeting held on November 7th, 2017. Councillor Whalen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Payon, that the minutes of the General Committee meeting held on November 7th, 2017 be received and adopted.
Again, are there any items for discussion in these minutes? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Minutes of General Committee meeting held on November 9, 2017. Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ugolini, that the minutes of the General Committee meeting held on November 9, 2017 be received and adopted.
Thank you, Councillor. Again, are there any items for discussion? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And we're into other business now. Councillor Whalen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know whether anybody's had a chance to drive down the Canal Parkway lately, but I know George is getting his feet wet in the operations, but a couple meetings, I guess a month or two ago, we asked for the operations to work with the mural committee to do something with those murals on the wall. Now they're getting faced with vulgar things, so I was wondering if we can get them taken down, at least the vulgar part of it, and make our city look half decent.
I know that Mr. Wild has been persistent in going over to that, the one factory he has been having it boarded up on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis.
These are the vulgarities that are printed on it, the removable panels.
It's not like we haven't been doing anything.
No, just like I say, if we get the obscenities taken down, at least it'd be appreciated.
You want to take the panels down?
Yes, please. They look pretty sad coming into Thorold and see those
Okay.
vulgarities.
That'll require a motion.
Okay, we put that on the floor, please.
Okay, the motion on the floor is that all the artwork that is on the panels on the parkway, well, that would be, okay, there's two factories there. One is actually operational and one isn't. And some of the artwork is actually on the cladding.
Yeah, these are the ones that are on panels, they're not the ones that are on the
Okay,
building.
strictly the one-
Even, I know the time consumption is
Okay.
a
I want to be clear on the motion.
Yes.
Okay? So the motion on the floor will be that will be Public Works will be doing that work.
That'd be great. And we work with the mural committee so that they're stored properly, and hopefully we can get them resurrected someday.
Okay. To remove all the art on the panels, all the art that is on panels, and to work with
Mural committee,
the mural committee.
so that they're stored properly, and so hopefully we get resurrected someday and
Okay.
displayed properly.
I'll ask the clerk to read the motion.
I need a seconder first for the motion.
Councillor Payon seconds it.
So the motion on the floor is that the artwork on panels located on the buildings on the Welland Canals Parkway be removed, and that the mural committee be engaged to ensure proper storage of the panels.
That's the motion on the floor. I'll ask for any more discussion on it. Councillor Ugolini?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a friendly amendment to just focus on the Lamco property.
The Lamco property.
Yeah, so just the Lamco property, not the other, the one that's in. Okay,
Are you okay with that?
that's
Okay,
good.
that's a friendly amendment. Councillor Longo?
Mayor, yes, I agree, it's a mess and it's getting worse. First of all, I don't know if we have a mural committee anymore. We do? Okay, well, that's good to hear. So, yeah, I guess we should take them down. The only thing is, now we'll have bare walls on the Lamco building and a new canvas for the graffiti artists. So I don't think this is going to solve the problem. It may save the murals and anything we can do with them, but it's just going to give a clean slate to the graffiti artists. And I believe they were respectful of the artwork that was up there for the longest time and wouldn't touch it. But it seems that somebody started it off, and it's an ongoing thing that's not going to get any better. But this isn't going to solve the vulgarity issues. It probably is just going to ramp it up a bit more.
Any other speakers? I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, is there anything else under other business? Councillor Ugolini?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the city clerk, can we get the Director of Waste Management to come to council and do a presentation? Because remember, they got canceled, and she showed up at the town and gown, but there's some issues we got to resolve. Today, we had a major wind event, and in Confederation Heights, it was like a bombshell hit. There's got to be a better way that we're packaging garbage. And I know there is a better way, and there's some issues that I'd like to address, and if we could do that, I'd appreciate it.
We don't need a motion.
No, because we already have it on our outstanding list.
There's
Yes,
no motion required on that request. Other business? Anybody else? No? Seeing none, I'll move on to bylaws. Bylaw number 110-2017 and 112-2017. Councillor Pion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Ugolini, that leave be given to introduce the following bylaws. Bylaw number 110-217, being a bylaw to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 2140-97 to rezone the subject lands from development D zone to various zoning categories to implement the neighborhoods of Rolling Meadows draft plan of subdivision phase 6 and beyond. And bylaw number 112-2017, a bylaw to establish certain offices for the purposes of the corporation of the city of Thorold and to appoint persons to hold such offices, and that the same now be read a first time.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Ugolini, that the bylaws just read a first time be read a second and third time and do pass, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Notice of motions. Is there any notice of motions? Seeing none, I'll move to adjournment. Councillor Whalen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councilor Payon, that this meeting be adjourned at 7:12 p.m.
Thank you, Councillor. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Seeing that we have a number of delegations tonight to speak on one report. I'm going to call on a 5-minute recess, because I think we're going to be sitting here for quite a while. Make sure I get this. Committee meeting to order. Councilors, again, are there any conflicts of interest? Seeing none, I'll proceed with our delegation portion. And some of you folks have spoken before, and you've been told what the rules are. You cannot speak on the same subject again. You have to have different topics altogether. So you will be cut off if you repeat what you said the last meeting we discussed this bylaw. So my first delegate is Maria Recrott, President of the Niagara Real Estate Investors Association. Welcome. You make sure the red light's on, please, and speak right into the microphone.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Okay, let me
welcome.
put my glasses on because, you know, with old age, you need your glasses at the same time. Thank you very much, and I'd like to speak to you of how I see the Thorold residential property licensing document. I have a number of issues here with that. I'd like to go through them. The number one is a document is a violation of our constitutional right to privacy. Number two, the number of requirements have an adverse effect on all landlords who own property in Thorold, which becomes the problem with the tenants and the people who are renting from us. They won't be able to afford the buildings that they're renting from us now. Number three, new residential licensing requirements are not allowed, some of them are not allowed by the Landlord and Tenant Board. And four, tenants won't be able to afford to rent our units, which will put undue pressure on social housing. Okay, so the first one is when we do the math of how much it is going to cost us to get licensed, it came out, and these are your figures, not mine, $5,418 per property. Is that correct? Because that's where we got the figures from you, which translate over a 2-year period, 24 months, $225.75. So it's not $20.88, which one of the councillors mentioned last month, per month. Just picture this. Can you imagine a little senior coming up with this amount of money who will be adding, also, who are we going to be pushing this $225.75 to? Of course, on the tenants. Okay? Because ultimately, it's the tenant who pays this amount at the end. Some of us are running on a profit of $100 or $200 a month. So does my profit belong in your pocket or in my pocket? So licensing alone, the fee itself is $500 just for me to fill in the paperwork. Never mind anything else. Where am I supposed to be getting this $500 from? The other thing is it's my violation of, number one, which is the violation of my right to privacy. Under the authorization section, because I looked at the 47-page document, I believe it's 47 pages, under the category of authorization, this is what it says, is consent of the owner to the use and disclosure of personal information. And my question to you is, why do I have to reveal to you who I am when I'm renting a few rooms in my own private home? If this is the case, then I will be asking for my tenants to sign this very same type of document before I rent to them. I'm sure that you will find that if this is taken to the Landlord and Tenant Board, that our hands would be smacked, because there's certain questions we just can't ask people. The second portion here is the fire safety plan. How are you going to enforce on our tenants that their need to extinguish ashes, this is just an example, okay? I haven't gone through all of the points of the fire safety plan. How are we going to tell them to extinguish ashes and cigarettes in a safe manner? We're not around them all day long, and if the tenant doesn't like the landlord, do you really think they care about extinguishing the cigarettes and ashes in a safe manner? That's not to say we don't tell them, because when I have tenants moving in, I tell them that they can't touch any part of the smoke detector, but I go in there every so often, they take it apart. So we get them to sign the paperwork. Ultimately, that is our responsibility, but we've been fighting people taking down the smoke detectors. The other thing too is, another example is in the kitchen hoods and filters to be cleaned properly. I agree that should be done, but how can I force my tenant to do this? You know, I'm asking council, how many fires, I'm asking council if you can give me the date, the times, and the numbers, Mayor, to date in Thorold. How many fires have there been to date this year? Does anyone know? How many fires? And the second question, a part of it is, how many fires in rental units and how many fires actually in private homes? Does anyone have these numbers or figures? Because I couldn't find that. But I would love to know the numbers. Tenants don't have to agree to a fire drill. That's the other thing that I noticed here. You wanted us to do a fire drill. You left that portion blank, and I don't know what the fire department is thinking, how many times we have to do a fire drill, and perhaps the fire department can answer that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there's really no set plan on a fire safety. It's once a year, has to be done through a fire safety plan.
Okay, so we'll just say once a year then, okay? If tenants don't agree to a fire drill, and there's really no way we can enforce them to do this, and once again, it would be the violation of the Landlord and Tenant Board. Before we go, and I would ask council to do this, before we go ahead with licensing, I believe this document needs to be sent to all the landlords to review and approve. Otherwise, it's only, and pardon me for saying this, only council who's approving this document. Have you asked the landlords whether they want or agree to this 47-page documentation? And I'm asking council to delay this document's approval until 2018, until all the landlords have had a chance to review what you're proposing before you harness our rights as landlords in Thorold. Otherwise, the council is stepping on my constitutional rights to say no to a document that will cripple my business and bring hardship to Niagara. My question to council is this: how many of the landlords have said yes to this documentation? And may I point out, we're already paying taxes. We're paying taxes that cover the bylaw staff, the fire staff, the policing staff. Let's use what we have already in place. Also, just to point out to council, even after you put licensing in place, you're still going to have rowdy students and maintenance issues. in all the municipalities that have been licensed in place, they still have these issues. How is Thorold going to be different than the other cities in ensuring this? So my question to you is, I have the right to approve or agree to know how my taxes are being spent. That, I feel, is my constitutional right. So I ask for a delay, that we can get all the landlords, this paperwork can be sent out to all landlords to see if they have some other ideas and if they will agree to this. Because after all, it's extra money coming out of our pocket that we're paying already in taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
This isn't a rock concert. It's a place of government. I'll ask you to not clap when you have when people conclude their speech. And otherwise, I will just allow the speakers to stay in the chamber, and I will evict everybody else. Thank you. Okay, any questions for our presenter? Councilor Pion.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to our presenter. So I just wanted to ask a question of clarification. I wasn't quite clear where you got the figure of $5,000 per property.
That was sent to me. That was part of how much it was going to cost to get the licensing just in place for us. With all the fees that we added up, because we added up all the fees, and it came to $5,000.
So in addition to the $500 fee,
well, you know what it is.
how do we add another $4,500?
Well, because you have to pay for the fire inspector to come in. It would be, there's numbers. I'm sorry, I don't have the paperwork in front of me. If I knew this was a question, I would have had it there, so I apologize. I don't have it in front of me.
According to Appendix A, the
Yes.
first inspection is free of charge.
Yeah, but
You only get charged if there's a violation.
Well, yeah, but I'm not even talking about violation. We have to get our properties ready for this.
But the
And there's a
property,
whole
if the
list.
properties.
There's a whole list. There's
if
a
the-
whole list.
But if the properties are already complying with all the regulations, then there's no extra cost. And if they're not
That's not-
complying with the regulations, then they should be.
Does anyone have that number here? Okay, I know. Okay, the ESA.
Or $26 million for the inspection. The inspection is $169, and there's a pony penalty of a pony down on your house. It's $169 as well. The site plan and the apartment plan that you referred on the sketch seems to be professional, and that would be running about $1.25 a square foot for your house. And then the as-built location of your property, on your property, would run you about $1,500. Those are some of the costs, additional costs that we're facing.
My understanding is that the sketch doesn't have to be a professional sketch. I mean, you could get a professional if you wanted to, but it doesn't need to be a professional sketch. And all those other costs, I mean, the $26 you mentioned might be, but that's $26. I mean, I'm not trying to debate it. I just want to know what the breakdown, if you could give me a list, but.
I can get you
Yeah,
that
but
list.
things such as that sketch being professionally done, that, it doesn't have to be professionally done.
Yes.
Well, it doesn't. Just for clarification, I can tell you that it does not.
Just that in order to get the boundaries of your property to sit on your
Mhm.
land, you would have to have your boundaries to start with. A lot of these older properties that are 30, 40 years old, they don't know where the stakes are, they don't have a proper survey. So in order to do an accurate as-built of your house that sits on the land, you need a survey or reference plan.
I'd be happy to send you those figures,
Sure.
okay? Be happy to do that. Are there any other questions?
Just one other thing. You said renting a few, you objected to the license because you said renting a few rooms in my own private house.
Yes, yes.
I'm sure you're aware that if you live in the house and rent up to 2 rooms, you're exempt from needing
Okay, I'm
a
glad.
license. So if you have a private residence and you want to rent 2 rooms, you don't need to get a license.
Okay, I'm glad that that was clarified,
Okay.
because I didn't understand that in the paperwork that I was reading. Okay? But still, having said that, if someone has a business of renting their properties, this is the main way they make their income. And Thorold has been, like all of Niagara, it has been going through a large recession. We have no other industries in here except real estate. And I feel that if we go ahead with licensing, you're putting undue pressure on anyone who is using this as a way of making a living. And that, I think, council has to be very much aware of. Because when I was speaking to some landlords about this, they said they were going to sell their properties and move someplace else. And if the tenants can't afford, because we are under undue pressure to come up with this money, because we can't get it out of the rentals, then where are these people going to go? Some of the landlords do have people who live on their the tenants are on welfare or an OSDP. So if we can't afford to keep them, where are they going to go?
I have no further questions. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will get those numbers to you. Thank you, Mayor.
Are there any other questions for our presenter? Seeing none, thank you very much. I'll move on to our next delegate, and it's Mr. Robert DeLallo, Associates of Daniels and Partner LLP Lawyers, and he is speaking on the same subject. Welcome, Mr. DeLallo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council,
You can
for...
move that microphone back up onto the podium so you don't have to bend down.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak again. I did speak on October 17th, and that was primarily after having reviewed the bylaw for a few days, speaking to the nature, the substance of the bylaw. Now having some time to digest it, I'd like to speak on the actual implementation of the bylaw. Like, how can this bylaw be practically implemented? And how is it going to be implemented by the effective date? And I would suggest in its current form it can't be implemented by January 1st, 2018. Applications are to be submitted by March 1st, 2018. However, the effective date is January 1st, 2018. The city should be prepared to process applications by January 1st, 2018. It's essentially 1 month from now. There's just too much required in terms of application material to be prepared, inspections to be done, and other requirements. I appreciate the Councilman's comments regarding the plans, but the fact is that the professional plans need to be prepared. A floor plan of the building needs to be prepared. A site plan of the exterior needs to be prepared. Aside from, the fact that these plans represent additional costs, thousands of dollars, these plans take months to prepare. The ESA certificate's required. That is something that will delay matters significantly. The ESA is in Thorold 3 times a week. It would take years to do the number of inspections required. The alternative proposal is that some evidence regarding compliance with the electrical safety code needs to be obtained. It's unclear what that's referring to, but the example is a letter by a licensed electrician confirming compliance with the electrical safety code. Now, is this something that can reasonably be obtained by a property owner? And in what time and at what cost? Again, the effective date is essentially a month from now. Inspections of the property need to be completed by the bylaw enforcement officers as part of the application process. It was suggested to me that this could happen after a license is issued in order to accommodate a great number of applications and the unlikelihood of inspecting each property in a timely manner. But after the fact inspections I would suggest would cause a great deal of uncertainty and disruption until a license is actually confirmed by the initial inspection. Isn't it more sensible to make the initial inspections optional at the discretion of the director, or even to wait until the city can accommodate all of these inspections, these initial inspections? These are required as part of the application process, they're not discretionary. Or to even waive the requirement for these initial inspections. The fire safety plan is another document I've looked at with a view of implementation. It requires weekly and monthly inspections and tests for maintenance by the property owners. For example, the power supply for interconnected smoke alarms shall be checked weekly, and a record of this test is to be kept for a minimum period of 6 months. These inspections and tests conducted by a landlord may interfere with a tenant's reasonable enjoyment of a rental unit, contrary to the Residential Tenancies Act. I believe it's being suggested that these responsibilities and obligations can be sort of offloaded onto the tenants, but I've not heard a reasonable proposal as to how this could be done. Would it be a term of the lease? Would that sort of term offend the Residential Tenancies Act? Even if it did not offend the Residential Tenancies Act, in order to enforce this term, the landlord's remedy would be an application to the Landlord and Tenant Board. So to the extent that compliance with the fire plan is a condition of the license, the bylaw may conflict with the Residential Tenancies Act. I suppose the main point is that from the date the bylaw becomes effective, January 1st, 2018, to the point where the license application material is being prepared, while it's being processed by the city after it's submitted, all the way up to the point where a license is issued, and even further, because it may need to be confirmed by an initial inspection. During that entire time period, from January 1st, a property cannot be dealt with. It would not be able to be sold or financed without being in compliance with the licensing bylaw. The point is the property owner is in limbo while this uncertain process lags on. So that's all I have to say today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the presenter? Councillor Whalen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A little against protocol, can I ask staff to answer some of these questions so we know where we stand, or do you want to bring it up when our report comes? I see some of this information is important. It'd be nice to know before we go forward.
We have our solicitor here, and the city solicitor here in the chamber. And if you have any questions, sir, you can direct them through her.
Appreciate it.
Okay. And she's just sitting to your left there. Do you have any questions for our solicitor?
Oh, sorry? No, those concluded my comments.
Okay, so you go ahead, Councillor Whalen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just concerned whether the time limitations that were expressed are legitimate or not, so,
Well,
or
he
practical.
did, the solicitor did have comments that were in a question form. And now I'm directing him to Ms. Premi, and he has no questions for her.
I can appreciate that. So I guess they're not legitimate then, if that's the case.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions, any other questions for our presenter? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next presenter is Kevin McKinnon, landlord, and he's going to talk to us about the same subject. Welcome, Mr. McKinnon.
Evening, Mayor, Councilor. I have the same problem as everybody else. Half the time, I've been doing rental properties for 30 years. I'm subsidizing these people already. Now, I work, plus I work. I work in the buildings and I work out in the field. I'm trying to operate this business. You're gonna force me out of business. You're gonna put these people on the street. Now, have you gonna be able to build subsidized housing for all these people? There's people on ODS, I have people on Canada Pension, people on welfare. These people can't afford to eat as it is. Half the industry's gone out of the St. Catharines and Niagara region. Where are we gonna put these people? Have you got deep pockets that you can put these people in new housing? That's all I got to say.
Excuse me, sir. I just want to see, are there any questions for this gentleman? Thank you very much. Our next presenter is Wally Jansen, and he is a landlord also, speaking on the same subject. Welcome, Mr. Jansen.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, Council. The question is, who will benefit from this bylaw? City staff itself says it will not fix parking issues, it will not fix the parking, it will not fix the garbage issues. These are the three top issues that we encounter. And staff says it will not fix it. At the open houses, I talked to some city councilors, and they told me they wanted their phones to stop ringing about these three issues. That's all I heard. Now, city staff says this bylaw will not fix these three issues, as your presenter said last meeting from city staff. So I hate to tell the councilors, I'm pretty sure your phones are not going to stop ringing. That's not going to happen. So why are we introducing this licensing bylaw? As recent as excuse me, October 16th of this year, City of Oakville and their councilors realized that this would not stop the rental housing issues, so they turned down a licensing bylaw. As of November 20th, it was in the paper, the City of Windsor and their council turned down the licensing proposal that they had in front of them. Why are we continuing? We all need to work together to solve the top three problems in this industry. Since this bylaw comes from city staff, says it will not fix the three problems, why are we doing this? Whose idea is this? Why are we even here? And what will we stand to gain if we pass this? Has anybody really thought that through? And other cities are turning it down? These are the questions I have for you guys.
Ms. Premi, would you like to try to answer a few of those?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. In reviewing some case law today before coming tonight, I found a decision from the municipality of Oshawa when their bylaw was challenged, and Mr. Justice O'Connell, in upholding the bylaw in Oshawa, said, "The fact that the licensing regime is not going to make everybody happy doesn't mean that it's not lawful." The licensing regime is lawful. This bylaw has been literally years in the making, and it has been extensively reviewed. It is a policy decision of this council whether or not to implement the bylaw. And this gentleman has just indicated that some municipalities are choosing not to. But other municipalities have chosen to do so. And many municipalities have chosen to do so, so there is an understanding within the municipality of what rental units are in existence. At the October 17th meeting, I heard Mr. DeLallo speak to the issue of the fact that there is other provincial legislation. Well, there is other provincial legislation, but how do you enforce the fire code and the building code when you don't know where the rental units are? So my understanding of this bylaw is to identify for the municipality and in the public interest where these units are. So I'm not standing here trying to advocate for the bylaw. It's a policy decision of council. And the council can choose to support the bylaw and it can choose not to. But my understanding is that the direction of this council is to put in place a residential rental bylaw, and that's what your staff has presented to you. And I'm also going to comment while I have the opportunity that it's a balanced bylaw. As the bylaw went through the process over the last several years, it has, based on consultation with the industry, been modified to make it workable for the industry. For example, one of the original drafts years ago required criminal background checks for the industry. That was all removed to make the bylaw more workable. As recent as last week, I met with your staff, with representatives of the industry, in order to talk about some implementation issues. The Electrical Safety Authority. I'm surprised to hear some comments today talking about, well, it's going to cost $260 and we're going to have to get that certificate. We're asking, by virtue of the report that Ms. Hanna has put forward tonight, to amend the bylaw so that there is discretion within the director to not require that certificate. It can be satisfied by a letter from a licensed electrician. So we're trying to work with the industry. We've changed the requirements for corporate filings. So as recently as last week, the bylaw has been yet again modified to make it workable for the industry. If there are any specific questions you have, your worship, or members of council, that I can answer, I'm happy to do so. Again, the bylaw, this is an 8-year project. In my opinion, as a solicitor, this is a supportable, defendable bylaw, and it is one that is balanced and fair to everybody. Not going to make everybody happy. You have tenants who want this, you have landlords who don't, you have educational institutions who do. It's a policy decision of council, but as I understand it, at the crux of it, is allowing this municipality to understand where the rental units are so provincial legislation can be properly enforced.
Okay. Thank you for that. Are there any questions for our original presenter? I'll ask you, sir, are you done? Do you want to continue speaking? Or?
All I just want to reiterate is that the city staff said that this will not fix the problems. At the open houses, I heard the councillor saying those were the problems. That's why they were bringing in the licensing to solve these problems. City staff says it's not going to solve the problems. I agree it's going to be lawful. You guys passed it, it becomes law. That's obvious. But it's not going to fix the problems that we have in the industry. It's going to create another level of bureaucracy, absolutely. But it's not going to fix our
Speak to the microphone, sir.
Okay, sorry.
You're not being picked up by the television station.
Okay, so it's not going to fix the day-to-day problems that everybody keeps talking about. It will be lawful, I agree. You guys passed it, it's law. That's the way it works. But what I was hearing at the open houses was the councillors were saying, we got to fix the problems because the neighbors are all complaining. So the neighbors are complaining about party, garbage, and parking. And city staff says, we'll not fix this. So I'm not sure, other than life safety, which I don't think any councillors have gotten any phone calls saying that somebody's concerned about somebody's life safety. I think they're getting calls about noise, partying, and garbage. So the neighbors are here. Those are their biggest problems. And this, what we're doing today, is not solving that. But we need to work to solve that, because I think that's a bigger problem than what we're trying to create here, another level of bureaucracy.
Are there any questions for our speaker? Seeing none, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Our last presenter is Aaron Pathak, President of the Hamilton and District Apartment Association. Welcome, Mr. Pathak.
Thank you very much for
the
allowing
second
me to present here again. I'm going to try and avoid saying things that I've said before. We all know that this is going to be a cost which is much greater than the fee. That's already been discussed by other people. I'm not going to go over the amounts. We have to recognize that not all renters are well off, and it will be a hit to some of them. But I want to look at solutions. And looking at Thorold's website, it gave the purpose of licensing, and I won't read all of it: health and safety of those residing in the units, protect the character and the ability of residents to enjoy their amenity space. The website further goes on to say, in staff's opinion, the program and the residential rental licensing bylaw will successfully regulate residential rental properties and improve enforcement of the current city bylaws that regulate parking, yard maintenance, and rubbish on yards. Clearly, a large part of the problem is visible from the street. So, by enforcing the current bylaws, that will attack that one section of the problem. So I'm going to split it up so that there's 2 or 3 things that can be done. Hamilton is currently using co-op students from Mohawk College to help with bylaw enforcement around McMaster University. So it's, there are ways of looking at it. The other thing is the health and safety. Guelph considered and rejected licensing, and from the point of view of the internal safety of residents, and I'll read what it says on their website. Renters in Guelph don't always Renters in Guelph don't always know if their rental unit meets minimum safety requirement standards, and the city is here to help. Free inspections can be especially useful if you're moving into a new unit or if you're unsure of the condition of the unit you're now renting in. So they chose to offer a free, and it's called a free 15-minute inspection, and any tenant can request that. So that's the easiest way to get in and inspect units. And you can advertise that process through the university. You can send out letters with Ontario Works checks, ODSP checks, and advertise it in general. So you set up a system whereby renters can get a safety check of their unit done. That is the best way to get the safety of the inside of the units looked at. There are some issues that the police need to deal with, and I'm not the behavior issue of students or other renters. The police need to do that, and there's nothing else to be done there. You've got to keep in mind that once your bylaws are enforced consistently, the community will understand the requirements, and they will accept the standards, and many, if not most properties, will not require continuing actions. It's already been mentioned that other cities have rejected licensing, Oakville and Windsor, 2 of them. And as I mentioned, Guelph, they looked at it and they went with this safety program. But I want to go on with some of the things that are happening in Hamilton, and hopefully we can help and not reinvent the wheel. When the issue went to Planning Committee a few years ago, a number of tenant advocates spoke against licensing. And in addition, and what the city did was they increased proactive enforcement, and the city set up a rental housing subcommittee which is looking at the issues. Our association, the Hamilton and District Apartment Association, went forward and took another very strong initiative. We set up a Hamilton rental housing roundtable, which is expected to have a report soon, and I'd love to bring that to Thorold before you finalize something. The roundtable that we've set up, it includes the legal aid clinic, it includes the poverty roundtable, it includes the housing help center, tenants, realtors. We brought in the Chamber of Commerce. We brought in tenant advocates. We brought in affordable housing providers. We brought in representatives from the university and college. We brought in a real cross-section of people, and like I say, we're going to have a report on that within the next few weeks, and I think we're going to have a report which is going to have the support of these various groups, a strong cross-section of our community that is looking at the similar issues in Hamilton, and I am asking Thorold to delay the process and look at this report before you make the final decision. And I just wanted to make one comment regarding finding out where the rental properties are. I believe most rental properties have a mailing address for the taxes, which is different from the actual residential address. And I think that's the first way to find out where the rental properties are. So I'm asking to hold this off. There's also been some statements today that it's being done too quickly, so let's give it a bit of time and wait for the reports from Hamilton, the round table, and look at that and see if there's something there that can help Thorold find solutions that don't cost the tenants so much. Thank you. If there's any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Pethak. Are there any questions for our presenter? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, can I get a... no, I won't. I'm going to... There's a couple... The next two should pass, move through pretty quickly. So I'm going to move first into the Finance Department, DF 2017-25, accounts payable for October. Mr. Lestracco.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is that all the accounts payable for the month of October in the amount of $5,980,627.36 be received and submitted to council for approval. This concludes the report.
Thank you, Mr. Lestracco. Can I get a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Whalen.
So move the report.
Speakers? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We'll go into the operations section. DOR 2017-18, City of Thorold Forestry Program, and I believe that's Mr. Stojanovic. Getting better?
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. Through you, that report, DOR 2017-18, be received for information purposes. So concludes the report.
Thank you very much. Can I get a mover for the report? Councillor Ugolini. Speakers to the report. Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? All those in favor, again? Put my hand up. Opposed? That's carried. Okay, we'll go into we'll move. Okay, which one is this? 88, 83. No, 88. Okay, we're moving into development and engineering, and it's I get it right now. DES 2017-88, residential rental property licensing bylaw and minor modifications. And I believe, okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the recommendations of the report are that the minor modifications to the residential rental licensing bylaw be supported, that the residential rental licensing bylaw be approved by special council on November 21st, 2017, and that the residential rental licensing bylaw take effect on January 1st, 2018.
Thank you very much. Can I get a mover for the report? Councillor Longo. Speakers to the report. Councillor Whalen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could I get abbreviated expense recap of just like what it would cost for the first year?
Can you speak into your microphone, please? As close to you as you can get.
Yeah. Can I get an abbreviated expense highlight of just what it's going to cost for first year and subsequent years? And it's just some clarification, like there's everything banded around by everybody here tonight. So I say it doesn't have to go into detail, just the basics, please.
Okay, how do we go about that? To get we need a whole report, an entire report on
Well,
that.
just the cost, to clarify everybody in the audience what's going to cost for the first year and then subsequent years.
Okay. Staff, can you give us what it's going to cost us in the first year and what it's going to cost these people in the first year and in the second year total?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the first 2 years is $500, so it's $250 per year. Each remaining year is $400, $200 per year. So that the actual license is for a 2-year period.
Good.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other speakers to the report? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, we will move on in our agenda. Back to 83, okay. DES 2017-83, deeming part of a Artesian Ridge not a plan of subdivision, Calma Street at Beaver Dams Road. I'll hold off till the chamber is emptied. That's okay, Judy, we'll hold off till the chamber is empty.
The recommendation is that the requested deem certain lands located on Columbus, Street and Beaver Dams Road, not a plan of subdivision, be supported, and that bylaw number 111, 2017, authorizing the execution of the deeming bylaw be presented for approval at this evening's special council meeting. That concludes the report.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah. Can I get a mover for the report? Councilor Ugolini. Speakers to the report. Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Into the clerk section. We're into the clerk section, CC 2017-55. Legislative update on Bill 68.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's being recommended that City Clerk's report CC 2017-55 be received for information purposes and that electronic participation at meetings be reviewed during a governance review scheduled for 2020. That concludes the report.
Thank you. Can I get a mover for the report? Councilor Pion.
So move the report.
Speakers to the report? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. CC 2017-56, review of council committees and boards. Ms. Delvecchio, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's recommended that a subcommittee of 3 councilors and the city clerk be established to review all committees and boards of the city of Thorold and to provide recommendations to council for improvements prior to the 2018 municipal election. That concludes the report.
Thank you. Can I get a mover for the report? Councilor Longo. Speakers to the report. I have one question. Are we selecting tonight a committee?
We can defer a decision to next council when there's more present.
I would.
Okay.
Yeah, otherwise.
We'll do that.
I'll do one of
You
us.
can bring that back. Okay. Thank you. So we're just going to defer it then?
The report will go forward,
Okay.
and then I'll bring it back.
Okay. I'll call a question on that one. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. CC 2017-57, 2018 municipal election update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's being recommended that City Clerk's report CC 2017-57 be received for information purposes. That concludes the report.
Thank you, Ms. Delvecchio. Can I get a mover for the report? Councilor Whalen.
So move the report.
Speakers to the report. Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. CC 2017-58, Seniors Community Grant Program from 2017 to 2019.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the recommendation of the report is that staff be authorized to submit a grant application under the Seniors Community Grants Program, 2017 to 2019, for the consideration of the following combined projects: therapeutic aquatics for seniors at the Thorold Community Pool, movie in the park for grandparents and grandchildren, and sponsor a series of swims for grandparents and grandchildren. This concludes the report.
Thank you very much. Can I get a mover for the report? Councilor Ugolini? Are there any speakers to the report? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. I vote in favor. CC 2017-59, Amendment to the Constitution for the Thorold Heritage LAC Committee.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the recommendation of the report is that City Clerk's Report CC 2017-59 be received for information purposes. That concludes the report.
Thank you very much. Could I get a mover for the report? Mover for the, Councilor Longo?
Move the report.
Thank you. Speakers to the report? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And we're into the Fire and Emergency Services, FES 2017-15, reallocation of funds, annual inspection, and resulting deficiencies related to emergency systems and equipment. Mr. Dixon.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that council approve the reallocation of $565 plus HST from the Fire Chief Station 2 Repair Maintenance Building and Grounds account to the Fire Chief Station 2 Repairs Maintenance Equipment account to cover the cost of deficiencies found to the equipment during an annual inspection for fire extinguishers, alarm suppression systems, and emergency lighting at Station 2. Further to report, Part 2, get the screen to move here, maybe. There we go. That council approved the reallocation of $155 plus HST from the Fire Chief's Station 3 Repair Maintenance Building Grounds account to the Fire Chief's Station 3 Repair Maintenance Equipment account to cover the cost of deficiencies found to the equipment during annual inspection of fire extinguishers, alarm system, and emergency lighting at Fire Station Number 3. That concludes the report.
Thank you very much. Can I get a mover for the report? Councilor Ugolini. Speakers to the report? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay. Move into special counsel. Councilor Longo. Remember that next time. Moved by Councilor Longo, seconded by Councilor Payon, that we do now rise and enter into special counsel. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Moved by Councilor Payon, second by Councilor Longo, that the recommendations of the following reports be approved. DF 2017-25, DOR 2017-18, DES 2017-83, 88, CC 2017-55, CC 2017-56, 57, 58, 59, FES 2017-15. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Moved by Councilor Payon, seconded by Councilor Longo, that leave be given to introduce the following bylaws. Bylaw number 109-2017, bylaw number 111-2017, bylaw 113-2017, and that the same now be read a first time. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Moved by Councilor Payon, seconded by Councilor Longo, that the bylaws just read a first time be read a second and third time and do pass, and that The mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same. Any rule of the council to the contrary notwithstanding. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Moved by Councilor Pleon, seconded by Councilor Longo, that this meeting is hereby adjourned at 8:12 p.m. Where are all these guys stand?